News Talk 94.5 WPTI, 96.7 FM WTOB. You're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray, helping you to retire that job but keep your paycheck. I'm your host, Doug Ray, and with me is, again, Mr. Brice Payne running the board.
Good morning, Doug.
Hey, morning. And our football season's about done.
It is, but we're looking at a new era here, it looks like. The Brady era is officially behind us, and the Mahomes era is officially beginning.
Apparently.
That's impressive. I've always liked to see, watch as somebody, a player, a future Hall of Fame player, evolves themselves from the early days, and that's certainly what's
So
Well, I'll be loyal to the AFC West. I mean, that's where the Broncos are from, so if I just kind of feel like I have to root for any other team that's in the AFC West except for the Raiders. We'll never do that. What about you?
Well, normally I can't stand Philly.
But you're tired of the.
I don't want to three-peat.
Okay.
But more importantly, Will Shipley is on the Phillies.
Okay.
Will went to Weddington High School where my two boys went.
Oh, okay.
So, and he was a standout there, and he was a standout at Clemson. So, guess I'm going to pull for the Phillies.
A little hometown boy. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's fair. That's fair. You don't want to see nobody wants to see one team dominate for too long, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's where we're at. Curious if your team out there is the one that you want in there. Probably not. If you're like me and Doug, we had some other choices we would have liked to see in there. But thank you for joining us this weekend morning. Let's go ahead, Doug, and real quick do the Wealth Guardian Service salute.
Absolutely. Yeah, so thank you so much, veterans, active duty armed forces, active duty first responders. Thank you so much for what you do for us. And we also want to salute your families because they sacrifice too so that you can do what you do for us.
Amen. Thank you very much. You're in our hearts. We know a lot of times it's a thankless job, and we just want you to know here at the Wealth Guardians, it is not thankless. So thank you very much. All right, Doug, before we get into the subject of the show here, retirees have a serious temptation problem. And talk about things that the retirees might be tempted to do, but might not be in their long-term financial best interests if they do that. So that's what we're going to cover here in the first and second segments. But what do we always do besides the Wealth Guardian Service salute before we get started in the program is we take just a moment so that you can better get to know your Wealth Guardian's financial planner. And Doug, Garrett, and myself, every week, we ask ourselves a question so that you might get a little insight into who we are and what makes us tick. And the question we're going to ask ourselves, and might as well ask you out there at the same time, something for you to think about. Doug, here's the question. To better get to know you, the Triad's Wealth Guardian Financial Planner OG, what's the worst you ever hurt or injured yourself as a kid?
Well, so I remember I had a gym set like most of us boomers had, with the wings.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they won't allow those anymore.
Yeah. So, my uncle was a volunteer firefighter. So I was pretending like I was Uncle Jake, and I took the sliding board and I turned it upside down so that I could climb the ladder portion of it. Well, when I got to the top, guess what happened?
And you fell? Gravity took over?
It fell. Gravity took over. And I broke my arm.
Oh, how old were you at this one?
Probably 5-ish, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, broke my arm and wound up in the hospital.
Okay. Well, that's the way back in the old days. That's how we learned science, right?
Exactly.
Math, at least. Yeah, one of those two. Well, I guess for me, if you were to ask, hey, Brice, what's the worst you ever hurt or injured yourself as a kid? I think probably the worst I ever hurt myself was I was in college. So I don't know if this counts as being a kid, but I apparently never grew out of it, of overestimating what I could do on a bicycle. And I was on a bike in front of my girlfriend. I decided I would stand on top of the bike and kind of surf it like a surfboard thing I'd seen other people done. I actually did it very well until I was trying to get down. And that's when I lost control and broke my wrist and hurt a finger pretty bad. So that was the worst, I didn't burn myself. I still have all 10 fingers and toes. So It's not that bad, right? But I've learned more about physics on the bicycle than any other classroom. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on this. Now that you have a little bit better idea of who Doug and I are, retirees face serious financial temptations that are often going to be jeopardized or could jeopardize their future. But there are smart ways to avoid these temptations. So in this episode, we're going to reveal the most dangerous temptations the average retiree faces And we're going to help you share strategies to help you avoid these. Keep in mind, we here at the Wealth Guardians are holistic financial planners. Our whole job is to help people get on a financial plan to last them through retirement and make decisions that are in their best long-term interests. So Garrett's not here. Doug, carrying out too much debt. So it's tempting to tell yourself that you really need to make that purchase right now, that you'll be in a better financial position to pay it off later. But how often is the purchase really something that they need?
Yeah, it's not very often. I mean, yeah, how many times have we seen when we do a retirement plan for somebody that is basically out of debt, works so much better than somebody that comes in that has a lot of debt? It just makes sense to not have any debt. Now, obviously, you're going to have to replace things from time to time, like a car.
Sure. Unexpected.
Forever. So yeah, you're going to have to do that. And, but ideally, if you can go into retirement with little to no debt, I mean, that's going to be golden.
It makes the mathematical problem all the much easier to solve, so to speak.
Yeah. If you think about it, then all you have to do is pay for your utilities, your groceries, fun stuff. You don't have that automobile payment. You don't have that mortgage payment anymore.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, you always want to be cautious about how much debt, what kind of debt that you're carrying in there. And if we can get rid of that by the time we retire, stop having W-2 income, the much better financial position we're all going to be in. And that's just one thing for us to consider. Do I really need to buy this that I would have to put it on, make interest payments on it and pay more for it than what the flat rate is? So it's just something for you.
And the last thing you want is credit card debt.
That's the worst of the...
That is
that's right.
Worse.
Yeah, obviously, because of the interest rates there, 19% higher than that sometimes. Yeah, so always consider what it is you're purchasing and is it worth going into debt for. So if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray, and this is Brice Payne in the studio with Doug Ray this morning. Thank you for joining us. And in this episode, both segments, we're talking about the serious temptation problems that retirees may have and how to perhaps avoid these or not give in to temptation. The second one that we're going to talk about here is missing out on a 401k match. So it obviously can be tempting to want to make your take-home pay as big as it can be, right? But if that means that you don't even contribute enough to your 401k to get the company match, this in itself is a huge missed opportunity. It's pretty rare that you should ever be turning down free money. So if you're going to miss out on a 401k match, you better have a really good reason for it. Doug, we do see people not making the full contributions that they can to their 401ks to get their matches at least.
Thankfully, we don't see it that often, but I mean, that is free money you're just leaving on the table. I mean, my goodness gracious, you got to contribute to get to the company match.
Yeah.
I mean, over several years, that can add up to quite a bit of money.
Oh, yeah. And plus, when you add in the compounded interest over all the years, you weren't getting it. So if your employer is giving you the opportunity to contribute to an employer-sponsored plan, and if you don't, you are not going to get a certain amount of match to your 401k. As I like to tell it, your employer says, your job, your time is worth this much to me. And if you don't contribute to the 401k, I'm not going to pay you 100% of what I think you're worth. When would you ever want to take your employer up on that deal and say, yeah, I don't want you to pay me what you think I'm worth. I'm not going to make a contribution to my 401k. Therefore, you don't need to make a match. That last little bit of match, consider it as part of your paycheck. And you're turning down a part of your paycheck if you don't contribute to that. Now, we get it that some people are not in a position where they can do that. And but if you can, that's certainly a temptation that a lot of retirees have that they unfortunately went down the wrong rabbit hole with. All right. Going to go here now to the third one. But before we do, Doug, helping a client figure out what their contributions should be to their 401k, what their contributions should be to their IRAs for this year or next year. Should it be a Roth perhaps that you're contributing to? All of those types of questions and thousands of more are what we help somebody who comes to the Wealth Guardians and want to be a client, want our financial planning services. Those are the types of questions that we help them figure out. It's not just about investment advice. We do a whole lot more than that.
Oh, a lot more than that.
Yeah. And so if you're out there thinking, I don't really know what a financial planner does. I already feel I have a diversified portfolio. You very well might, but that is not the only thing that a holistic financial planner does. There's about 12 different categories, but they all are encapsulated under finances in the household. what does a financial planner do? They help you make sure that all of your finances are synced up so that you are having a good possibility for growth on your accounts, not taking too much risk, not paying too much in fees. Also having an understanding of when you'd file for Social Security, when you would, should you take the lump sum pension or an income version of your pension? What distributions do I take from which accounts this year so that I'm not accidentally kicking myself up into a higher tax bracket? Those are all the types of things that we help our clients with here. And if you'd like to sit down with us and see if there's anything that you're not doing that you should be from the point of view of a holistic financial planner, then I'm going to invite you to give us a call for a no-cost, no-obligation review of your current situation. All you got to do is pick up the phone and give us a call at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. You can also visit us at our website, thewealthguardians.com, to sit down with us and see what advice we might have for you on how to improve your retirement picture. So we've got a couple more of these to go through, including deferring taxes and starting your Social Security at a certain age. We're going to talk about all of that in the second segment. But before we do, we got to get to a break here. And what do we always do before the break? Doug, what do we always do before the break?
Trivia.
All right. And this one of Doug's favorite times of the week, as you can tell, is just excited as all can be. So here's our trivia question for this week. Let's see if we stumped you or if we stumped Doug. Doug, on January 28th, 1958, this toy was patented. It was invented by Danish carpenter Ole Christensen. It was in the inaugural year of the World Hall of Fame, Toy Hall of Fame. And it's, like I said, its name in Danish is shorthand for play well. The world's largest version of this toy is 28.7 meters tall. And if you took every individual part of this toy made in 2024, it would stretch 5 times around the world. That's how much of this toy that they make. It is the #1 most helpful toy, according to educational theorists and developmental psychologists. And for every human alive, there are estimated to be 80 of this toy out there. And it's won multi-awards. What toy are we talking about from 1958? Think about it, and we will get to it on the other side of this break. This is Brice Payne. With me is Doug Ray, speechless over there. The show's The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And this is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. And this is 96.7 FM WTOB. News Talk 94.5 WPTI. 96.7 FM WTOB. Welcome back to the Wealth Guardian Show, where we help you retire the job and keep the paycheck. I'm Brice Payne in the Wealth Guardian studio this weekend morning, along with Doug Ray. And in this second segment, we're going to continue our discussion around retirees and the serious temptation problems they might face. Now, in this second segment, we're going to continue our discussion on that. But before that, we have to answer the trivia question that we left you hanging around at the end of the previous segment. I want to ask you this. Are you planning to retire in the next 7 to 10 years? Okay. Have you met with a retirement income certified professional who's also a fiduciary? Okay. If not, I'm going to invite you for something here. I'm going to invite you to take us up on a complimentary review of your current situation. So as certified retirement planning specialist, we put together a customized written plan with strategies for portfolio allocation, income distribution, Social Security filing, and tax efficiency, with the additional benefit of often reducing both the risk and the fees of your current plan. So if you put aside at least $400,000 and you want to take us up on this no-cost, no-obligation review, give us a call at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409, or you can go to thewealthguardians.com. That's thewealthguardians.com to learn more. Let us show you in black and white how to retire the job and keep the paycheck. Okay, let's go ahead and get to this trivia question. There's a lot of little clues in this, Doug, so I'm going to repeat them all here again. See if one of these clues might be the one that gets that little light bulb to turn on there. Here's our trivia question. Let's see if we stumped you out there. Doug, on January 28th, 1958, this toy was patented. It was invented by Danish carpenter Ole Christensen. Its name in Danish is shorthand for play well. The world's largest version of this toy is 28.7 meters tall. It was in the inaugural year, inducted into the Toy Hall of Fame in its inaugural year. I believe that was 1998, even though the toy's obviously been around a lot longer than that. If you took every individual part of this toy made in 2024, it would stretch 5 times around the world. It is the number one most helpful toy, according to educational theorists and developmental psychologists. And for every human alive, there's estimated to be 80 of this toy out there. It is multi-award-winning movies about this toy. Yeah. What toy are we talking about there?
I had no idea there was
a toy Hall of Fame. Yeah, there's the Slinky is in there, Mr. Potato Head's in there. There's a lot of them in there.
Hey, Brice, I just got a guess.
Okay.
He talked about education. A Rubik's Cube?
Oh, that's not a bad guess, though. Rubik's Cube came out much later. That was invented by Dr. Rubik's, and that came out in the late 70s or early 80s. The toy that we're actually talking about here is the Lego. My personal favorite toy. Okay. I had thousands of Legos, and that was whatever I was doing. I actually humbly admit that I still play with Legos today. I buy those adult kits. They are really hard, like the Millennium Falcon is what I'm working on now. So, so there you go. The Lego was inducted into the Toy Hall of Fame in its inaugural year. So that's pretty cool. And so happy birthday to the patent of the Lego out there. All right, let's continue our discussion here. Retirees have a serious temptation problem with certain things out there that aren't necessarily in their or your best interest to go down that temptation rabbit hole. So we're trying to help you figure out what some of those are. And we talked about carrying too much debt and missing out on a 401k match. Those are some things that 401k or people retiring are tempted to overlook. And here's the third one, deferring taxes. So you can contribute to a couple different types of accounts, in most cases, year in and year out. There's IRAs, there's Roths, there's 401ks, and some of these have tax deferring methods. Like, for example, Doug, if you contribute to a 401k or an IRA, that amount that you contribute is subtracted from your earned income. So you're deferring taxes on that. The sweet allure of reducing your taxable income this year is a temptation that many people can't resist, and sometimes it's exactly what you should do. But there are times when you'd be much better off to just go ahead and pay the taxes now to put yourself in a much more tax-efficient position in the future. What we mean by that is perhaps contributing to your Roth account or your Roth 401k as opposed to your traditional IRA. Doug, when it comes to deferring taxes, there's like a lot of math that goes into those problems.
People hate paying taxes. They hate it with a passion. I get it. I don't like it either. I certainly pay my fair share. But, you're right. There are good reasons why maybe go ahead and pay the tax now and then, benefit in the future, like the Roth conversion you mentioned a moment ago, or just in, depositing money into a Roth account, or if you're lucky and your 401k has a Roth side, yes, you're not going to get the tax write-off
this year.
But in the future, you're going to get such a great benefit from tax-free income. And, remember, when you're withdrawing money out of your 401k, your IRA, that's calculated into your potential taxable Social Security.
That's right.
And, I don't know if Pump will make good on this no taxes on Social Security pledge or not. That's a big hill to climb. Mm-hmm. We'll see. But it's not hard at all to get into a taxable Social Security situation. All it takes is about $35,000 of income, right? And, if you're married filing jointly, it's $44,000.
That's right.
So it's very easy to hit that threshold.
Yeah, it is. And it comes down, Doug, to really short-term planning versus long-term planning. Are you trying to solve a problem right here, right now, this year? Because if so, contributing to your 401k or in your IRA is probably going to be one of the easy steps to defer taxes in this year. But if you're planning for a longer game, for all 9 innings and not just this up at bat time this year, it might behoove us to do a lot of those math calculations to help you figure out whether 20 years down the road, would you have been better off to contribute to a Roth account for the last so many years or the IRA account? And that's something, again, that a holistic financial planner is going to help you figure out. So if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show. We're in our second segment here talking about serious temptation problems that retirees have. We've talked about carrying too much debt, missing out on 401k matches, deferring taxes versus taking the tax hit now. Let's talk about another one here, Doug. Starting your Social Security at 62. That's the first time that you're able to file for Social Security, and you can file for it as late as age 70. So there's a huge window in there. And a lot of people that we sit down with who got advice from their neighbor over the back of the fence while sharing a beer, the advice they've been given is file for Social Security as soon as you can. Get that money now before it goes away or for whatever reason.
Yeah, how many times have we heard that? I'm going to get it while the getting's good.
Yes.
Because I'm afraid it's not going to be there. Well, look, if you're in your 60s, you're going to get your Social Security. They're not going to do away with it. Trust me. They will figure the problem out. The other excuse I heard, and this one is just, it's glorious. Well, I'm going to take that money at 62 and I'm going to invest it. Mm-hmm. Forget about it.
Are you guaranteed to get an 8% growth on that investment?
I just read an article last week. The average investor in 2024 earned 4%. What did the S&P do? 24%?
Yeah.
The average investor never earns a lot of money. So your Social Security is going to grow at 8% plus the cost of living.
That's right.
You're looking at almost 9-10%.
That's right.
You're not going to beat that.
Nope.
So let it grow.
Yeah.
For it.
I think, Doug, like you said, a main contributing factor is people out there have a fear. And fear, like greed, is one of those things that makes us jump into bad financial decisions. Filing for Social Security early because you are afraid that it might not be there if you wait a couple of more years. I can't tell you how many people fall down into that way of thinking, and it's not a reasonable fear. Doug, like you said, if they make changes to Social Security, it's going to be for people who are 50, 55 years and younger, when that's still off their radar for a while. The people who are about to file for Social Security, maybe you're about to turn 62. Doug and I share this point of view. The congressmen out there are not going to put their name on a bill that takes away your Social Security because they know they will have a hard time getting reelected if they do. So it might not be the fiscally responsible decision that they're going to make in the end, but it's the one that's going to keep your Social Security the way it was intended or the way you thought you were going to get paid. If you're younger than 50, 55, maybe there's some different strategizing in there. But for you who are about to get Social Security, please don't let that fear be one of your guiding points.
And if you're 62 and you're still working, just don't even think about taking it because you're going to hit the earnings test most likely.
You are indeed. So let's just take a minute here, Doug, and we got a couple more I wanted to get through. Maybe we'll do them in some supplemental episode here, but I want to take a minute and just remind everybody what we do here at the Wealth Guardians is we sit down with people who are approaching retirement and help them make sure that they have got all of their proverbial financial ducks all in a row to make sure that they're making the best decisions, that they can actually retire when they think that they want to retire, that they can actually spend the type of money that they want to spend. Is their pension, should they take the lump sum or should they take the income payout for the rest of their lives? Those are types of questions that a financial planner helps their clients understand and make the proper decisions. If I'm getting an inheritance this year, or if I'm selling my business, Doug, if I'm selling my business, should I take all the proceeds this year or should I put it into some kind of trust and get income for a couple of years? Again, the types of questions that we help people figure out so that in the end, their retirement picture looks as bright as possible. And if you have a financial planner or you don't have a financial planner and you'd like to sit down with us for a no cost and no obligation review, here's how you reach out to us. Give us a call at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. We'll sit down with you and help you figure out what your retirement picture does look like or what it could look like with some tweaks and adjustments. You can also go to our website, thewealthguardians.com. That is all the time that we have this week. Doug, what do you want to say? What do you want to share with everybody before we leave?
Well, I hope your team wins the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Other than that, I think cut it off.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. That is all the time that we've got this week. This is Brice Payne along with Doug Ray. The show is The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And I want to remind you, sound financial plans do not create themselves. This is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. This is 96.7 FM WTOB.